So this past Monday on Raw, we saw Goldberg return to the WWE and challenge none other than Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, obviously, Gunther won this championship a week prior from Jay Uso. He claimed it back after losing to Jay at WrestleMania 41. Now, this was extremely controversial, and that's the reason why I'm making this video. I want to talk about the controversy surrounding all of this and look at the real full picture. Is this match between Gunther and Goldberg justified? The match is going to be happening at Saturday night's main event on July 12th, so let's dive into this whole thing. So obviously, we have to start off talking about Jay Uso, who won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 41. He beat Gunther for it after having a long feud with him. And this was huge for Jay Uso. A lot of people who don't like Jay Uso did not like that he won the championship, but everybody else was happy. And so was Jay, of course. This was Jay's first time rising as a singles competitor, of course, after having a purely tag team based career. So yeah, in 2023, we saw Jay Uso go ahead into the singles competition. And finally, we saw him win a world title at WrestleMania. So this was huge for Jay Uso. Every champion will lose the title at some point, but you do have to be careful with how you do it. And with Jay Uso, someone who was extremely and still is extremely over with the crowd, the movement, the yeet movement didn't stop or decline at all. It was quite random. Out of the blue, WWE decided on a random episode of Monday Night Raw to strip Jay Uso of the world title. No, giant story of Gunther trying to gain back the title. I mean, obviously he wanted it back, but it's not like they made it into a huge story that it just made sense for Gunther to take it back. It really doesn't make sense for Gunther to take it back, at least not yet. So yeah, this was the controversy going on, and it's still talked about. Obviously, Jay Uso lost the title just like that after winning it at Mania. It's crazy. And the worst part about this is why he lost the title. Not only to give it to Gunther, but to bring Goldberg into the picture. A, very old man and a WWE, WCW legend, of course. Now, this seems very, very unfair towards Jay Uso. You can argue that this is, to me and to many, it looks like WWE just wanted to push Jay Uso to the side, take this title away just for a little nostalgia ride with Goldberg. And that perspective is obviously justified. That's literally what it is. Jay Uso was still a rising star despite him being with the WWE for such a long time. He was just getting to the top and he was only growing. Jay Uso was only rising higher and higher until they made him stumble by losing this championship for no reason. Now, why did they do this? Why did they have to strip Jay Uso of the championship just for Goldberg? Well, part of the reason could be WWE is seeking to have the biggest names possible, have the biggest matches possible. Goldberg versus Gunther is indeed a great match. It's a dream match. It's a really interesting match. I know a lot of people look forward to seeing it. So it could be, considering AEW All In Texas is going to be literally on the same day as Saturday night's main event in Atlanta, that WWE is simply trying to fill up that card as best as they could to win over the ratings over, AEW. So maybe that's the move for business. And knowing TKO recently, that's all they care about. They don't care about what the fans want. They just care about, what TKO, aside from the R-Truth situation, of course, WWE has been making money-based moves and has not prioritize the fans as they should be. So yeah, it could just be that WWE sees Goldberg as a ratings magnet. And honestly, I don't know if that's really the case. Goldberg is not widely loved, if I'm honest. Sure, he got a great crowd reaction, but online, Goldberg hate is everywhere. Now let's talk about the pros and cons regarding this whole thing, specifically the match that we're getting between Goldberg and Gunther. Now, why is this a good idea? Why does it make sense? Why is it okay? Why is it justifiable? Obviously, Goldberg is a legend. He is a WCW legend. Goldberg has a history in the wrestling business that you can't deny. Although he's not widely liked, he is certainly a legend, and he aims to have his last match. I think it's fair for any legend to go ahead and have one more match and call it a day. Absolutely. I agree. Same thing with any other legend, I don't mind seeing a legend return and having one last match. That's absolutely not something that I will ever criticize. I think it's well deserved from their part. However, the way they did it is where it becomes problematic. Not only did they bring him back for one more match, but they took away the championship from somebody who, was a very well-respected champion, someone who earned the championship, someone who fought hard for it, and someone who's an active star in the roster, of course. Jay Uso, someone who's extremely over, someone who is loved by the fans, top merch seller. People pay to see Jay Uso now. This guy is wildly famous and popular in the WWE, of course. He's one of the most over stars right now. But clearly WWE didn't care, so they took the championship off of Jay Uso, gave it to Gunther, and the rumors started circulating about Goldberg returning until he finally did. Now let's talk about what will happen in the match. What happens in the case that Goldberg loses the match and Gunther retains the championship? Well, in this case, we're going to have to see Goldberg retire, as a loser. And I don't think that's happening. Either he doesn't retire and he gets a rematch or something, or maybe he goes after somebody else, which I wouldn't mind seeing as long as, the championship isn't in the picture. But then in that case, I would feel as though Gunther didn't need to win the championship and Jay should have still been champion. Either that or Goldberg leaves for some time and then returns later. We don't really need to see that. I think now's the time. So yeah, likely scenario, I think, in my opinion, is that Goldberg will win the championship. I don't see him losing it. I don't see him losing this match. And I also don't see him retiring as a loser of, the last match he had. So what happens to Gunther? Well, in this case, Gunther will look unstoppable. He beat Goldberg. He's the champion. All right. But what if Goldberg wins the match, right? That's what I think is going to happen. Then in that case, we're going to have a brand new World Heavyweight Champion. Goldberg. Goldberg has had title reigns in modern history. Of course, he was the Universal Champion back then. But if Goldberg wins this championship, that means this match will not be Goldberg's last. Goldberg will have to actively be in the WWE weekly, and he will be the champion, defending it constantly against other stars. And one thing is for sure, Seth Rollins at one point will be Goldberg's opponent. He will challenge Goldberg for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I think Seth would probably be the guy to beat him, because at one point, we're going to get Seth Rollins as world champion. But there's one other scenario that could happen. And that's that Seth Rollins, Mr. Money in the Bank, cashes in at Saturday night's main event on July 12th. Now, this would be huge. And if it's indeed Goldberg's last match, it wouldn't be a great one for him. So because of that, I don't know if it'll happen, but it remains a likely scenario. It's possible for sure. So yeah, the person I think will take the title away from Goldberg if he wins the championship is going to be Seth Rollins. Now, regardless of how the story goes, Jay Uso remains in a bad spot. I feel as though if Gunther wins the championship, he retains the championship at Saturday night's main event, it'll look stupid. The decision of Jay Uso losing the title. It would have seemed pointless. Why did it look so rushed? Why did Gunther just go in there and take the title back on a random episode of Monday Night Raw just for him to stay champion? Like, it makes Jay Uso's title reign seem pointless, and it makes his match against Gunther on that episode of Raw that he lost it in seem pointless. And if Goldberg wins the title, then obviously it just looks like WWE took the title away from Jay Uso to give it to someone like Goldberg. So regardless, Jay Uso was screwed over in the situation, which would add to the problems that fans currently have with WWE. Giving the attention, giving the prizes to the old nostalgic legends rather than the active stars. Prioritizing the legends over the rising upcoming stars. Obviously, Jay Uso, as I've said, has been there for a while, but he was still, in a way, rising to the top as a singles competitor. Now, personally, I'm invested. I'm invested in the match between Gunther and Goldberg. I think it's going to be a good match. I really do. At least I hope so. Hopefully, we don't get something like what we got, when we had Goldberg versus Undertaker that one time. However, I think this is going to play out well. Hopefully, that's at least what my hopes are. It's best to keep one's hopes high. It always is. But yeah, in my opinion, I think they should just give the title to Goldberg. I think they should at least make Jay Uso's title loss look like it was for something. It had a purpose, even if it's not a good one and it's just, to give it to Goldberg. But maybe this is the way for Goldberg to lose it to Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins maybe goes up against Jay Uso. I see it happening in the future. Hopefully we get a Jay Uso versus Seth Rollins match. Hopefully we see Jay Uso take back that title. But there's one more rumor that's been going around lately, and that's that Jay Uso and Jimmy Uso are supposedly planned to reunite eventually in the coming weeks maybe. So a Uso reunion could certainly change everything. We're no longer going to see Jay Uso as a tag team competitor. So a Uso reunion would change the whole picture. It would change the whole landscape of this whole, situation, and obviously the future of Jay Uso. It's something that might not benefit Jay too much, because it feels like he's taking a step back here. Jay Uso has been rising to the top as a singles competitor, obviously once he and Jimmy split. So now he's going to be taking a step back, reuniting as the Usos and become, you know, a tag team again. Now, obviously, this whole thing has been a different story for Jimmy Uso. He has not really gotten anywhere as a singles competitor, and his career has, it seemed like it's been declining. They don't know what to do with him too much, and, you know, it could certainly help Jimmy. If anything, yeah, this would help Jimmy the most, but not Jay. I think it's best Jay stays as a single competitor. I think it's best that we keep the Usos separated, but hopefully they do cook up something good if they manage to bring them back together. But if that happens, we might not see Jay Uso reclaim this title ever again, at least not while he is in that tag team with Jimmy Uso. And if they do go back, I don't see them breaking up again. It seems weird. Why bring him back just to break him up again? But man, this is going to be one crazy ride as we approach into Saturday night's main event, which is still a month away. There's certainly time for things to change and new things to come by that will change our minds and, you know, offer us clues about what's going to happen. So up to then, ladies and gentlemen, I guess all we can do is stay tuned. Let me know down below what you think of this whole situation. Are you happy Goldberg's back? Are you disappointed that Goldberg is back? Do you have any hopes at all for Jay Uso at this point? And what are your predictions for Saturday night's main event? With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. For more content like this, consider subscribing if you're a WWE fan and you like watching WWE videos here on YouTube. Consider subscribing because this is what this channel will offer you. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, goodbye.